A couple months ago, I was really upset at how Haitians were being treated at the US-Mexico border. The images of US Border Patrol agents on horses with whips chasing Haitians made me sick, cause that shit looked like some slavery shit. Eventually, when everything settled down, I started to think to myself, how the hell did that many Haitians make it to the US-Mexico border? At first, I was like, oh, they just probably flew there directly from Haiti to escape the chaos caused by the assassination of President Jovenel. But boy, oh boy, was I wrong. Because this journey started all the way from South America and took years in the making. Also, the evidence for this journey was right in my face because I met Haitians who made this journey. So in this video, I'll take a deep dive into the migrant journey from Haiti to the US-Mexico border in order to explain the ramifications of this journey. Before I start, make sure y'all like, subscribe, and comment on this video because I'll greatly appreciate it because it will help my channel get bigger. Last time I covered Haitian migration, Haitians in the late 20th century were mostly taking water routes to escape the horrible political, social, and economic conditions caused by the Duvalier dictatorships. However, it's become nearly impossible to make this journey and be allowed to stay in the United States because the US Coast Guard has tightened up security in the sea, and there's also a US Supreme Court decision that allows for the forced deportation of refugees without protection. So when the 2010 earthquake hit Haiti, Haitians had to find another way out the country other than going through the sea. And that's how our journey begins. After the 2010 earthquake, many migrated to other countries by plane. Brazil became the most popular destination because they promised many construction jobs ahead of the 2014 World Cup and the 2016 Summer Olympics. Furthermore, the Brazilian government offered humanitarian visas and permanent residencies to certain Haitians displaced by the earthquake. As a result, as of 2020, Brazil's Haitian population had grown to an estimated 143,000. However, the welcoming attitude and treatment of Haitians changed when the 2016 job boom from the games wore off. In addition, as Brazil's economy became stagnant, corruption, political instability, and anti-immigrant sentiment grew. These factors, plus the 2018 election of President Jair Bolsonaro and persistent racism, drove some Haitians to see Brazil as a temporary destination. Moving on, while most Haitians were taking planes to Brazil, some were also migrating to Chile. Chile became a popular destination because it was politically and economically the most stable country in the region. It also allowed Haitians to enter the country without visas and provided them with opportunities to work in the construction and service sector. These factors contributed to more than 12,000 Haitians arriving in 2015, and this number grew to 150,000 in 2018. However, just like what happened to Haitians in Brazil in 2018 with the election of President Jair Bolsonaro, happened to Haitians in Chile with the 2017 election of President Sebastian Pinera. Pinera's election led to immigration restrictions that required Haitians to obtain visas in 2018. Furthermore, out of the 27,000 recorded entries during the 2-year span, only 31% were approved. Not to mention, that was just the first hurdle. So after securing the tourist visa, they had to obtain a work permit, which became difficult because Chile prevented most from acquiring one even if they received a job offer. The discrimination and anti-immigrant sentiment made living in Chile hard for Haitians. Then in 2020, with the outbreak of the coronavirus, things got worse for them in South America. The pandemic made employment opportunities scarcer, and countries in the region began closing their borders. As a result, many Haitians saw no option but to start their journey north towards the US. Before I go more into the journey, I want to clarify some things. First, 2020 wasn't when Haitians started making the journey north. It became a common occurrence in 2016 when Panama's border service counted around 27,000 Haitian migrants crossing their borders. Second, Haitians were the only migrants making this journey. Cubans, Dominicans, and Africans also took part in it. And last, this is a simplified version of the journey that highlights the significant experiences that Haitians encountered. Either beginning from Brazil or Chile, Haitians must pass through multiple countries before reaching the US-Mexico border. This journey could take anywhere from a few months to a few years, depending on migrants' resources, time spent in detention centers, stopovers for short-term work, or connections to smugglers. The most physically demanding and dangerous part of the journey is across the Colombia-Panama border in a region known as the Darien Gap. Migrants must hike across the 93-mile jungle, which typically takes between 4 and 11 days, depending on the season. They frequently ran out of food, robbed, swept away by rivers during flash floods, or are otherwise injured while crossing. If they are lucky enough to make it to Panama, migrants are processed through a policy called flujo controlado or controlled flow. It begins in the southern border where they are registered, screened for security purposes, vaccinated, and from there, transportation is arranged towards Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, many will become stuck in limbo because Nicaragua struggled to receive them. As a result, to get through Nicaragua, they will enlist the help of smugglers and Nicaraguan soldiers. For example, near Los Chiles, Costa Rica, Nicaraguan soldiers will bring up motorbikes for them near the border and then escort them 5 miles inside Nicaragua to the San Juan River. Then, smugglers will float them over to a highway and deliver them to drivers who will get them up to Honduras. Through Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico, they will employ different methods like walking, taking buses, cars, or being smuggled in trucks to pass through these countries and reach the US-Mexico border. Now that you understand the overview of the journey, let me explain the factors that led to the 2021 mass exodus of Haitian migrants to the north from South and Central America. So what kept them at bay was, first, they had jobs in the countries that they flew to. Second, they knew the journey was dangerous and weren't desperate enough to take it. And last and most important, Trump was in office. The Trump administration had taken away Temporary Protected Status, or TPS, for Haitians in 2017. TPS provides legal immigration status to people from countries affected by civil unrest or natural disasters. Then, when the coronavirus pandemic hit in early 2020, Trump enacted Title 42, which is not an immigration policy, but a public health emergency policy created to circumvent immigration laws and the rights of asylum seekers. It allows for the immediate expulsion of migrants. The pandemic also caused South and Central American countries to close their borders. So, when all these situations flipped, as jobs dried up, borders opened, and Trump left office, a pent-up wave was released. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the encounters of non-Mexican, non-Central American immigrants skyrocketed from 1,308 in May 2020 to more than 40,000 in May 2021. Furthermore, through messages on WhatsApp and Facebook and YouTube videos from Haitian migrants, the journey became a well-known route for nearly all Haitians to reach the U.S. As a result, thousands congregated in camps near the Del Rio River when rumors went around saying that if they reach the US-Mexico border, they will be given temporary protected status by the Biden administration because of the assassination of President Moise in July and the earthquake in August. So all of that led us to seeing thousands of Haitians living in makeshift camps, crossing the Del Rio River with all their possessions, and being rounded up by US authorities on the news in September. To keep it short, they weren't welcome, and they were seen as a nuisance. And this was a bad look on the Biden administration because they continued Title 42, which was something that Trump started. So they would deport thousands of Haitians and send them back to Haiti, even though the majority of them haven't been in Haiti in years. So they go back to Haiti having nothing. And Biden could have chosen to restore the previous asylum rules or restart the Deferred Enforcement Departure Act, which basically prevented asylum seekers from being deported from the country. But no, he didn't do any of that. You know what he did? He just decided to only give Haitians that were in the country before July 29, 2021, a chance to get temporary protected status. So basically he said, forget every one of you that came in September, because you're not going to get any protected status. And for many Haitians that had to go through the encampment in the Del Rio River, this was a painful reminder of their past history and mistreatment by the U.S. authorities, which started ever since Haiti gained its independence in the 19th century. It continues till this day. But on the other hand, Haitians were also given the option to return to Mexico, and Mexico's authorities actually welcomed them, despite Mexico having a history of sending bad migrants that go to their country. And because of all of this, Haitians were able to settle down in Mexico and create a community of their own. And one neighborhood in Tijuana is being called Little Haiti because many have settled there. But to go back to the bigger picture, this journey and seeing what they've been through and what they've done to reach the U.S.-Mexico border is just a reminder for me to see just how much Haitians are willing to persevere to get a better chance at life. Because this is basically a reflection of what happened in the late 19th century when they were going through the Caribbean and going by sea just to reach America. So it makes me get a better understanding of the past and able to relate it to the present, because it shows that the struggle that Haitians have been going through is just keeps on going. It's happening today. And it also lets me see exactly how Haitians were able to spread and be at the locations that they were at. So in the future, if a Haitian come up to me and told me he's Mexican or he's Chilean or he's Brazilian, I won't be surprised, because this journey has caused a lot of Haitians to spread themselves in South America. If you like this video, make sure you like it, subscribe and comment and just tell me what you think. And thank you for watching, and thank you for staying this long. See you next time.